You've got it tuned into Music Scene Investigation, everybody. Glad you're with us today. Rich Wildman here. It's gonna be a great show. I've got my Halloween red on after the fact. It looks black. I don't know what to tell you there. It's just the lighting, I think. But anyway, I hope you had a great Halloween. I know we did. Everybody got an ear of corn, whether they needed it, liked it, wanted it, or not. And it's the way it is when you live in corn country, and I can say nothing else besides that. This week's show is indeed a special show, and we're glad you're joining us. Unfortunately, we do have some sad news. We have to say goodbye to a very good friend of MSI. Samantha Lean, unfortunately, passed away a couple of days ago from a bout with cancer. And we will miss her, and our condolences to her friends and family on this sad weekend for them and for everyone else as well. So with that being said, however, we would know that she wants us to continue on doing the things we do, and that's just what we're going to do. So on today's broadcast, we'll take 3 new songs and put them in front of our panelists and find out what they have to say about what they hear today. As always, they have no idea what they're going to hear, the name of the artist, or even the name of the song they're going to be listening to. So it should be very, very interesting, to say the least. Now then, that all being said, let's meet our panel from New York City, Mr. Tom Chianti. Hey, Tom, how are you, sir?
Good day, Rich. I am fine. A little tired. I've been in mix mode for an upcoming CD release that they just dumped the music on me and say, oh, by the way, we're going to release it next week.
That's always interesting.
Yeah. Well, at least they labeled the track, so it'll be a little bit easier.
Do you have the proverbial track 02 anywhere in that mix?
Several of them, 02.1 through 02.10.
All right. Well, I was curious. So this CD will be ready for release by next week when it's due, right?
Well, my part of it will be. Of course, they rush the engineer and then the artwork, and then, I could probably take 2-3 weeks and nobody would care. But, it's nice to be on time and be professional and hand it in crying.
Just like the old days.
Never forget the old days where we used to hand them in on rocks.
And there you are. That's stone tablets where everybody else comes from in the world. And over to London, England, Mr. Ian Husbands. Ian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Richard?
I'm not doing too badly, of course. A little cool out today, but, what are you going to do?
Uh-huh. Well, it sounds like the Battle of the Somme here tonight, because it's obviously fireworks night on Tuesday. So people are doing it this weekend. And we've also got Diwali as well, so there's and booms going off in the background as we speak.
Wow. Well, it hopefully will coincide with the music so it doesn't sound out of place.
I want to give a shout out to the guys at Firestar Toys tonight. I took a visit over to their warehouse on Thursday and got the grand an OCD sufferer's dream. So thanks to the guys. That's all for a little project we're doing with Ian Blackwood.
All right. Well, we'll definitely look forward to that, unless, of course, there's any top secret information you can tell us ahead of time.
No.
Okay. Well, I tried. You can't say I didn't try, everybody, because I did. That's what I do. I try and pry all the secrets out of everybody who's on the panel. And today is no exception. We have a new guest joining us today. We're pleased as punch to say after Ian stops. This is where Ian and Tom gang up on me and stop me for the show. Go ahead, Ian.
What's he forgotten, Tom?
He has forgotten our test results. Yes, mine came back positive.
I was going to say, Tom, you're not pregnant, so thank goodness.
The rabbit is alive and well, but we have viewers who have voted and thought consciously about many, many things. Tell us, Ian, what are the results?
The results are everyone agreed with us. Fantastic. Everyone thought I'll Bring You by The Fetching should be the song of the week on songwriting, performance, and mix and production.
Oh, well, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that, and I apologize for just glossing over that, but as you can imagine, I'm very excited to have our guest panelist who's joining us today. And he was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, near and dear to my heart, just a little bit up the road. And he's a singer-songwriter and pianist from, I guess you started out playing piano. Is that correct? Mr. Ben Draiman is with us. Ben, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Now, it says you played the piano from a very young age. Is that the first instrument you started with, was the piano?
Yeah, there was, I actually originally wanted to be a drummer, but that was too loud, apparently. So then the next option was electric guitar, and that apparently also was too loud. So we settled actually on piano because my parents got me like one of those little Casio jobs where you can like kind of plug headphones.
Oh,
but
sure.
I never really used the headphones because I enjoyed singing as well. So and I can't really hear myself on it. So.
No, I understand completely, and I see where your folks were coming from. I mean, I think every kid in their right mind wants to start out playing the piano, or playing the drums rather, which makes perfect sense. I mean, it's better than beating up on your brother, I suppose,
There you go.
So now my understanding is that you are influenced very much by a lot of the bands from the 80s. Some of my favorite bands, by the way, Depeche Mode, The Cure, Bon Jovi, some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a singer-songwriter, how have these guys influenced what you do today?
Well, first and foremost, basically, I don't know, sort of my producers actually used to describe my music as first of all, very American.
Sure.
Even though Depeche Mode and The Cure are not remotely American, but whatever. But sort of like this sort of like arena style rock of a sort. But for the most part, it's just more in terms of the melodies. Like I was always just really into music that just has really great hooks, really great melodies. Just stuff that I can really kind of sink my teeth into. The Cure was a little bit more artsy from that standpoint, but there was some just really just amazing stuff that, in fact, there's one song, it's actually one of the singles off the EP that's actually directly influenced by a Cure song. And that's my single, 21 Seconds.
Now, I did not tell people, but you're currently residing in Jerusalem, Israel. And so, when I say Chicago, I don't want everybody to believe you're in Chicago. So you say the Cure has influenced one of your tracks on your current EP.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where you're like playing somebody else's song, and then you just kind of get inspiration from it, and then you kind of take it into a completely different direction. It was kind of one of those moments with it.
Now, that makes perfect sense, and that is a very cool thing to have happen in music in general, just that kind of inspiration. Now, I've also seen some information in your bio that I'm reading here in front of me, saying that you described your music as exploring common denominators of effervescence and their heaviness as compared to and contrasted with Coldplay's prettiness.
Yeah. I once was very fond of saying that if Chris Martin from Coldplay got together with Amy Lee from Evanescence and together they had like a love child, that would be my music.
All right.
For the most part, that it sort of combines some of the the softer, very melancholic elements of Coldplay with some of the heavier, more powerful, more intense elements of Evanescence from that standpoint. Sort of just blending the guitars with the piano.
All right. Now, I know that you also have a lot of stuff going up on YouTube, a lot of music and stuff like that. And I'm going to throw it over to Ian. I know you and Ian had some conversations about this. One of the things we're interested in and have been talking about lately is how YouTube can be effectively used by indie artists to not only promote themselves, but promote their music as well. And I know Ian has a couple of questions for you in regards to that. Ian?
Well, let's talk about Stricken to start with, Ben. Stricken is one of your recent video releases. It's a song that's near and dear to your heart in many ways. So let's just talk about that to start with. Give us a bit of info on that.
Okay, sure. Basically, pretty much YouTube is the MTV of today, as we all know. And to really introduce yourself to people who don't know you, and to create kind of waves on there, the most effective way of using YouTube is to make covers of very, very popular songs. It so happens that Disturbed is my older brother's band. I've known them actually since their formation for the most part. And actually one of my favorite songs of theirs is Stricken. And the idea actually started out because I actually did another cover of another song a couple of years back that was more of a slow song, and it wasn't so much of a departure from the original. And when I was speaking to my friend and producer, Roz Klinghoffer, about potentially doing another cover, so he had actually, it was his idea that he recommended taking something that was, very loud and heavy essentially and turning it into something, very soft. That contrast, that reinterpretation of a song, if it's actually a well-written song, it'll actually lend itself to that interpretation. But that contrast and that reinterpretation is one of the things that can make a cover very, very successful by you completely making it your own. And basically what I did with Stricken, what I'm actually quite proud of from that standpoint is that it's very, very me. I took the song and I made it very, very me. The concept of my EP was sort of like rock ballads for the most part. And I basically took this like hard hitting, very heavy, very in your face kind of rock song, and I turned it into a ballad. And the lyrics actually just really lent themselves to that very nicely. Very, very nicely. And the great thing when you take a song that's very, very popular, I mean, you run a risk when you reinterpret it. But if you do it well enough and the fans like it, then people can sort of rediscover that music in a different way. They can hear other elements of it that they hadn't heard up until that point, and it makes it very exciting. So even a song that they've heard up until that point, 1,000 times, and I think the original video has like a couple million hits at the very least. So yeah, it just kind of brings a new, fresh look at something that everybody loves already anyway. And it's just, and that is really what, at least for the musicians, at least that I felt, is one of the big strong points of YouTube in terms of marketing your music, basically sort of introducing them to you by reinterpreting a popular song, but doing it your way with your specific style. So people will be ultimately curious and interested to see what it is, what else you've done, and eventually, hopefully, become a fan of your music as well.
I mean, you say obviously about your original material. Now, despite having a famous brother, you're an independent artist like the rest of us, struggling to get your name out off the back of your piano playing. And you've had a bit of success doing this, haven't you? I mean, you've had some radio play all the way in Canada.
Yeah,
Tell us how that came about.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, you these days through social media, you can get to people from essentially all over the world. And I spend a lot of time and energy doing that, reaching out to people who listen to similar music to try to get them to take a chance on my music as well. And one day there was a girl from a city in British Columbia that I never heard of before called Prince George, who really loved what she heard and really wanted to hear it on her local station. And so she said to me, she's like, I really want to hear you on the radio here. Here's the website, and here's the program director's email address on the website. contact him, send him your music, and I'm sure he'll play it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, naive girl, you know, I'm sure this guy gets hundreds, maybe thousands of messages like this all the time. And, you know, I'm this guy all the way out in Jerusalem. I'm nowhere near Canada. Why on earth would he be interested? But on the other hand, I figured it doesn't really cost me anything. You know, it wasn't about sending a CD, you know, to the station. It was just about sending an email with a link, which is one of the great things that you can do these days. It doesn't cost you any money. There's no postage. There's no nothing. All it costs you is really time. So I spent the time and I wrote him basically a message saying, you know, some of his listeners, you know, seem to like my music and think it might do well on his station. And here's a sample of my work. And if he likes it, you know, I'd be happy to send him a copy. And it's actually interesting. So he ended up responding 3 weeks later, and he loved it, and he brought it to the music panel, and they loved it too, and eventually got heavy rotation on the station, which completely blew my mind. But I actually asked him at one point, and this is actually really important for anyone else that's interested. You know, I asked him, you know, why did he listen to it at the end of the day? You know, what made my email sort of stick out from everybody else? And he said, because you were nice. You know, you weren't pushy. You weren't like, oh, you got to hear this. You got to hear my music. You got to whatever. You got to play it on your station and just crap like that. I basically offered it to him. I said, you know, well, you know, some listeners seem to like it. You know, feel free to check it out. And I did. I wrote him at the time, actually, that I'd love to hear his opinion regardless. And I guess there was something about that approach that he really liked. He also liked the fact that I was the one that was writing it, as opposed to a publicist or somebody else. It came directly from the artist. And it was more of a personal message, and it wasn't a template of any kind because I didn't really send it to anybody else. But obviously, if you're hitting up a number of stations, then you're going to do somewhat of a template. But the more personal you can make something, the more direct, the better it is. And yeah, when I ended up becoming good friends with the program director, who a couple years later invited me out to Prince George for a radio-sponsored show. It was actually my first time in Canada, my first time certainly in Prince George. And the girl who made it all happen, her name is Christy. She came out to the show, and she got to meet me, and I got to meet her, and it was really an amazing experience, actually.
That's pretty awesome when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned before, and you're in Israel, and we talked a bit in the pre-show about the indie scene in Israel. And I want to bring that up again because a lot of people seem to think that an indie scene is an indie scene is an indie scene. And so I think it's very interesting what you mentioned in the pre-show when we were talking. Tell us a little bit about the indie scene in Israel, in Jerusalem, what you experienced.
Okay. Look, there's a lot of talented artists out here, but people struggle very much to try to get people to come out to shows. Unfortunately, there's next to no local radio support or media support of any kind for local artists, particularly of the unsigned kind. And so it makes things very, very difficult. So you really have to work really, really hard. So one of the things that they do out here in order to draw crowds, which is something I guess that's pretty universal all around the world, and also sort of similar to what we talked about with YouTube, is that they do a lot of cover shows. You know, I've actually been a part of a whole bunch of different tribute shows, from Papa Roach to 3 Days Grace to Pearl Jam, Nirvana, a whole bunch of different, you know, really popular stuff that's really, really popular out here. You can draw between 300 and 400 people to a show like that. So what some people have done is they'll put on a show like that and then sort of throw in their music as well. That's a way of kind of sort of just getting the crowd there. And sometimes we've had sponsors. Actually, we have, believe it or not, Jack Daniels out here.
Wow,
has been a really great sponsor of some of the shows that we've done, which has been fantastic. So we've had a little bit. So those who can get to them have had a little bit of help there. But ultimately, it's very, very difficult. And what ends up happening a lot is that a lot of the musicians here end up going abroad to try their luck out there.
All right. So now, in the works for you, I know that as I saw in your bio, you had an EP back in 2012. What are you currently working on? What do you have coming up? And more importantly, where can people find out more about you? I know you have a website at bendraiman.com.
Correct.
So tell us about what you're working on, what you got coming up.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to kind of move away from the solo artist kind of thing, and I'm basically doing a new project that'll be in the form of a band. So far, it's just me and my producer, and we have another person kind of collaborating with us. I don't have a lot of information about it just yet, except that it's going to be a lot more of a rock album. It'll be guitar based. There won't be really piano there. It'll be just something very, very different, where I can just focus on singing. And as far as the writing is concerned, also, I'll be writing stuff always together with my partner, Roz Klinghoffer, who's the person I'm doing the project with. That's something we're working on now. Right now, we're putting together, we're in sort of like writing mode. We've written about 30 to 40 different sort of song pieces of a sort. And what we end up doing is we're constantly developing them. And then when we get to about 50 or so, we're going to choose the best ones, and that'll be for the album. We're still debating whether to release it as a full album or maybe just to do 2 different EPs. But we'll see what happens. But that'll take a while. So that's what I'm certainly currently working on that. In addition, the team of people that I worked on Stricken with, Nina Veraki and Yuval Kramer, we're going to be doing another song together because the chemistry between us was just really, really fantastic. And this is actually just going to be another one-off sort of single. This will be an original piece this time also. It sort of has sort of a Celtic vibe to it. It's called Rhyme or Reason. A lot of my fans have heard it so far. And for those who do want to find me and find out more and whatnot, you can go to bendraiman.com, which is www.bendraiman.com. Oh, did you see it says there? Wow, look at that. Cool. Yeah, you can go to my website. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, all the various usual suspects. You can find me and join our little community and whatnot. And the last thing that I'm doing that I'm actually very, very excited about is I'm planning on releasing yet another single from the album, and that's 21 Seconds. And we're in the process of doing a music video for that. I'm doing it actually with the guy Roy Konevsky, who edited Avalanche, that I was actually very, very pleased with. And we have some really, really cool ideas for what we want to do with 21 Seconds.
Do you think you'll be doing the video in Jerusalem, or are you going to be going abroad for that?
Oh, yeah. No, well, it'll be filmed in Israel. Whether it'll be entirely in Jerusalem or not, I don't know. I mean, Avalanche was filmed entirely in Jerusalem. That was sort of a concept, actually. Everything was done in Jerusalem. All the actors and actresses were from Jerusalem. All the filming was done in Jerusalem. But now we may go to other locations. There are some really gorgeous locations out here. You know, we have the Dead Sea, and we have some beautiful, beautiful stuff up north as well. So really the sky's the limit as far as that's concerned. But just sometimes as far as time is concerned, it's sometimes easier just to keep things locally. But we'll see what happens depending on what we need.
All right. Makes perfect sense. And we wish you all the best, of course, with that.
Thank you.
And, of course, now, though, we have some music we'd like for everybody on the panel and in our audience to listen to. And if we could, I'd like to go ahead and get to that today. So if you would, everybody on the panel, please take a listen to song number 1 on today's MSI as I play it for everyone out in our audience. So please enjoy song number 1 on today's Music Scene Investigation. And there it is, song number 1 on today's Music Scene Investigation. And we're going to go over to Mr. Ian Husbands to find out his thoughts on this particular track. Now, Ian, I just want to let you know I was conversing back and forth with Ben during the playback of that song via text, and he was having some problems listening to it. But the reason I tell you that is so you can make your review as long as you need to, so he can have a chance to hear it. So go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Thanks.
Gee, thanks, Ian.
The one thing you don't need to give Ian is the opportunity to speak more. He's got pages worth.
Look, I like this track. There's some good stuff going on here, but everything's just on top of each other. Just sounds like it's been compressed to death. The drums sound flat and just flat. So they're just sounds rather than instruments. The vocals are just buried in that chorus to the point I couldn't understand the lyrics. There was just no dynamic here. It just sounds like in mastering, everything's just been made to be loud. No space, nothing's way through. I mean, there's some great performances here. Don't get me wrong. I like the girl's voice a lot. I like the use of layering. In fact, the production side of things, the placement of sounds is good. It's just in that mix, it's just been crushed together. The screamo parts kind of fits with what they're doing. You've got that Evanescence sort of thing where they've done that bit with the sort of more rap rock stuff. And I don't know, I can't understand a word he's saying. It kind of seems a little bit pointless. Like, we got a middle eight, what should we do? I don't know, let's get Joe from down the road to come and scream on it and see what happens. It's a good song, despite its mix and mastering issues. It needs to flow, and that girl's voice is more than enough to carry this whole song. Right, that middle eight. Let's hear what you're saying. I do like it. I think there's a good song here. I mean, it's got elements of Evanescence, and someone in the chat. That kind of works for me. So yeah, strong performances. Just everything's on top of each other. Mix-wise, it is just too much all the way through.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Ian. And I tell you what, just for your knowledge, Ian, I do have some instances in where your audio is dropping out, kind of like your Skype is locking up on us there for a second or so, about every 40 or so seconds. But just want to let you know about that. Maybe I can call you back during the next song. And let's go over to Mr. Tom Chianti, find out his thoughts as well. Tom?
In the chat, Pinky said 6/10 none the richer. Her voice reminds me of that, and I wish I could hear more of it. As Ian said, everything is on top of each other, and I think there's just too much reverb on some of the rhythm guitars. The solo guitar over to the left, or right rather, was way too loud, and individually in the lower parts in the verses, it sounded okay, but it got overpowered when everything came in. And the playing is excellent from what I could hear. The drums were tight. The guitar parts were well played, but again, it suffers from mixitis, and it needs. I think maybe if they just went back to the board and really took the time to listen to the parts and where they're best displayed and made more prominent, and bringing them in and out instead of having everything in all the time. Vocally, as I said, it's great. I think the screaming parts were a little bit overdone. I don't think they need to have been that aggressive. I like the idea of a different type of vocal presentation there, something else maybe where you could understand what he was saying. It just sounded very angry. But I definitely like the idea of a different type of vocal presentation there. And as Ian said, the production's there. It's just go back and really, take the time and sit through the mix and get those parts separated and heard. Cut back on some of the reverbs, use shorter reverbs, maybe change up a different type of reverb here and there. But overall, I got a very good impression from this song, and I would have liked it 10 times better if it was just a little clearer. everything was just like smacked in the middle, squashed on the top, and then shoved out. As a matter of fact, I was listening in mono, and a lot of the extra reverb and extraneous side stuff fell out. It sounded much better in mono than it did in stereo.
All right. Well, there you have it. Thank you very much, Tom. Now, I hope that Ben has had an opportunity to hear some of the song, so we're going to him next. Find out what he thought. Ben, let me know. I'm apologizing for the issues first, but hopefully you've had a chance to hear at least a little bit of it. And I'm not sure if Ben can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Sorry, I turned the comments down so I could actually listen to the song.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if I heard the same song that you guys heard, because I noticed from Ian's initial comments that he was talking about a female and screaming and God knows what, and no?
It's song number 1 had a female lead singer in it, and during some of the chorus parts, there was a gentleman in the background, yes?
Okay. Is the song called This Is War? Because what did I listen to?
No, the song is not called This Is War. And
Are you on the first 3 and not the ones below it, the hit list?
Yeah, you might have grabbed the...
Well, the first one wasn't working, both buttons.
Yeah, the first song on the hit list is called This Is War, but the first song of the top 3 songs on that page are what
I see. I get it now. Okay. Yeah, it just nothing seemed to be working. I finally managed to download something, but then I guess I got the wrong thing. All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, whatever.
Well, that's all right. It happens sometimes. Now, I'll tell you what we'll do is, I don't want to leave you out of doing a review on that song or any of the other songs. So what I want you to do is take the opportunity, if you want to, go ahead and download song number 2 and song number 3 while we go ahead and get ready to listen to those. And as I introduce song number 1 to everybody else, you'll know who it is, but you can go ahead and download it too while you're listening to song number 2. And then we'll come back to song number 1 as we get the opportunity.
You do want me to get back to 1, basically.
I would love to hear your thoughts on it, yes.
Yeah, we get more than one shot at this.
So what we'll do is I'll introduce song number 1 while you go ahead and get ready to listen to song number 2 by downloading it or whatever the case is. And then while song number 2 is you're listening to it, you can go ahead and download song number 1 as well. Okay. And then we can swing around and hopefully get your thoughts on both of them as we come back around. So that being said, everyone, not to confuse everyone at all, but let me introduce track number 1 to you. Track number 1 is called Stray the Path, and Stray the Path is by a group called Red and the Wolf, and I assume that's a play on Little Red Riding Hood there, but we appreciate their sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Of course, if you want your music on Music Scene Investigation and heard in front of our panel, the only thing that you need to do is send that track in to us, and you can do that by going to musicsceneinvestigation.com, clicking on the Submit a Song at the top of the page, and just follow the instructions right there. It's very easy to do, and we highly recommend it. In fact, 4 out of 5 of us here do recommend that, as we're not doctors or anything, but still, we recommend it. So, that being said, gentlemen, we have 3 songs in total to listen to. Let's go ahead and give song number 2 a good listen to and see what everybody thinks about it. This is song number 2 on today's Music Scene Investigation.
Jay Parker.
In a way, look
good, started from your toes. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show. Let it show. I'm gonna take your time to show off. Gonna blow my mind and show out. I'm gonna take your time to show off. I'm gonna blow my mind and show out. So gonna show me what you do. Girl, you looking good, started from your toes. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show, let it show. I'm gonna take your time to show off. Gonna blow my mind and show out. I'm gonna take your time to show off. I'm gonna blow my mind and show out. Smile thin on my cheek. Memorize, body cold like ice cream. I need a cigarette. It's so hard to vest in. I need to ventilate. We need to ventilate. So gonna show me what you do. Yeah, you looking good, started from your toes. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show, let it show. I'm gonna take your time to show off. Gonna blow my mind and show out. I'm gonna take your time to show off. I'm gonna blow my mind and show out. So gonna show me what you do. Girl, you looking good, started from your toes. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show. If you're feeling me, gonna let it show, let it show. I'm gonna take your time to show off. Gonna blow my mind and show out. I'm gonna take your time to show off. I'm gonna blow my mind and show out.
And that is song number 2 on today's Music Scene Investigation. Now we're going to start this one out with Mr. Tom Chianti. Find out his thoughts. Tom, what is your take on track 2?
I like the production. There were a lot of producer tricks going on, a lot of interesting things coming in. I really liked that low end. It was a little bit close to overpowering, but not quite. My biggest problem is with the projection of the lead vocal. I think the lead vocal should have been produced better and more to get some more clarification and enunciation. It's a very emotional what he's delivering. Maybe a little too much, a little more concentration on the note and finishing the sentences. It's an interesting track. It's got a nice dark vibe to it. And I just think that there was a tremendous amount of space in there where he was just doing da 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 like that, where there could have been a bunch of female background vocals doing interesting rhythmic things to move the track along instead of just keeping it at a steady pace, which not really repetitive. It was short enough. The intro is a little long. But yeah, the more movement with vocals, definitely, and really concentrate on the vocal aspect of this song. and I think they've got something. As it is right now, it needs a lot of work on that lead vocal. Really needs to be brought out. It was loud enough, but got lost because it was like you weren't hearing him complete his words. So more production on the vocal, adding more vocals, and leave the rest of the track the way it is, and it will fill out in that mid-range. It was top, it was bottom, very little in the mid, and you could fill that up very nice with a lot of multi-layered, really good background tracks.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go over to Mr. Ben Draiman as I wait for Ian to call me back. Ben, let me know what you think about the track you just heard. I'm hoping it was track number 2 this time.
Yeah. First of all, I'm happy to be part of the. Wait, hold on just a second.
Okay.
Stuff plays. Oh, okay. There we go. All right. Stuff plays when I don't. Stuff plays when I don't want it to play, and doesn't play when I want it to play. But all right, we're good now. First of all, I like the intro, although it was a bit long. But it's the kind of like the feeling that I got for it is kind of like one of those sort of like laid back, kind of like really vibey kind of mixes and whatnot, which is kind of cool. Sort of stuff to like kind of chill out to. And there were some very strong emotional aspects of it. I would tend to agree that the vocals tend to get lost in the mix. The mix is a little bit harsh for my taste, especially in light of the sort of mellow kind of sound that they wanted to put there. And if you did want to do something that wasn't as mellow, I kind of expected it to kind of go somewhere. I didn't feel like it necessarily went somewhere. Like I didn't feel like there was like a strong chorus or whatnot, but that could also just be a genre thing. You know, I know that's sort of like, it's sort of like in the, I guess R&B / electronic mix of a sort. But the guy has a good voice, for sure. The producer probably should just, do something else in the mix to try to get the vocals not all caught up with everything else that's going on in the track. And just as far as writing, I mean, I would like to hear. I'm just a person. I love hooks, and it has some really cool elements in there. But I want something, really strong that that sort of just gets stuck in my head. I mean, that was the kind of thing that, like, now that I haven't listened to the song, like, I don't really even remember. It wasn't something that really stuck out.
All right. Well, that makes perfect sense. And I'll tell you what, if you get the opportunity to listen to track number 1 while I talk with Ian, I will let you do your review of that after I finish with Ian and introduce track number 3. So, Ian...
and what's it called? Track number 1? What's it called, just so I know?
Track number 1 is called Stray the Path.
The Path. Got it.
All right.
Okay.
Here is Ian with his take on track number 2. Ian, what do you think of track number 2?
Well, hopefully I'm back now and we're not dropping out. But yeah, to start with, I thought, this is going to be quite nice. There's a lot of little tricks going on here, and then it didn't go anywhere from my point of view. I think the biggest thing is that sort of chorus part became very repetitive. The guy's got a great voice, and the one thing that really stood out for me on this is that there wasn't an excessive use of auto-tune where it wasn't needed. On a lot of these tracks we hear heavy use of auto-tune, and this, there was slight bits coming in there, but it wasn't excessive, and I liked that a lot. There was things going on that I didn't like, producer tricks. For example, there was movement on the hi-hat during that chorus. It sounded like it had a sort of very slight auto pan or something like that on it. And it just sounded wrong to my ears. I'm used to a hi-hat being stuck in a place, and this was sort of moving all over the place. And the hand claps, they just sounded false, too false. They were constantly on the beat. They didn't sound natural at all. And that, to me, just didn't work. I mean, there's a lot of nice things going on here. The bass, the drums in general, the kick and everything sounded great. And the sort of space that everything occupying was nice. Everything was defined, but there was just, I think a bit of overkill on some of these production techniques. To be honest, I would like to hear that backed off a little bit, and a bit more thought about building that instrumentation and taking the track somewhere. I mean, there were some harmonies that came in on the chorus parts later on the track. They were very low, and they sounded maybe even electronic, as in adjusted digitally. I would like to hear some more layering on that vocal. The guy can obviously sing, use your voice, layer up that vocal, make that really big. There's a lot more that could be done with this. It's sort of really good starting idea. And as I said, the mix and the production wise, there's lots going on that's really good. But don't overuse it, and start to fill up the instrumentation to make this a better song.
All right, Ian, I appreciate that as well, and want to introduce that track to everybody. Track number 2 on today's MSI is called Show Off by Mr. Chris James, and we appreciate Chris sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. Now then, let me see if I can go back over to Mr. Ben Draiman and see if he's had an opportunity to listen to song number 1.
Yeah, I did. Now I hear what you guys talk.
All right. Well, tell us what you thought about it then, Ben.
Well, this one is just a little bit closer to home for me. Like there are some very nice hooks there, whether it's through the guitar or through the melodies that she's going at. The mix doesn't really do it justice, unfortunately. Her voice is kind of getting lost there. It's almost impossible to understand what she's saying. And it's unfortunate because it could be a really great track, and that's one of those classic things that the production is really, really important. That's kind of the clothing that we dress up our beautiful song in. And I think it just needs a bit of work. It still kind of sounds like somewhat like in demo mode, so as far as demo mode is concerned, like I hear like, oh wow, that could really be a cool song. There's some good potential in there. But the mix unfortunately just doesn't do it justice.
All right. Well, I appreciate your listening to that again, Ben. Thank you very much for doing that. And again, song number 1 was called Stray the Path from Red and the Wolf. Song number 2 from Chris James called Show Off. Now, hopefully we have everybody back on track. We can go ahead and take a listen to song number 3, and that would be this one. This is song number 3 on today's Music Scene Investigation.
Then bite my lips till the
And there it is, song number 3 on today's MSI. I was just going to write in the chat room asking Ian if he was serious about the jazz note comment, because I've heard of blue notes, I've heard of brown notes. I guess this is the first time I've heard of a jazz note.
Look,
I don't know.
When I was with my band Frequency and we were recording our album, we had, I think, 10 tracks, and everyone was allowed one jazz note.
Okay.
And it's that one note that maybe doesn't quite fit with the rest of them, but you're allowed one on the album. That was it.
All right. I got you. I appreciate that clarification. Let's go to Mr. Ben Draiman, find out what he thought of track number 3. Ben, what do you think of track number 3? And do you agree with the whole jazz note premise?
Well, here's the problem, where if you hear something from a different genre that you don't quite connect to, you know, I feel uncomfortable having an opinion about it, to be honest. It kind of reminds me of I get music sent to me all the time by a lot of metal heads.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of times it's just for me, it's just very intense and screaming and God knows what. And I'm kind of like always sitting like dumbfounded and thinking like, okay, well, it could be good, but I don't really know, because it's just not my thing. So that's kind of what I was trying to do with this track. I was trying to kind of keep an open mind or whatever, but I mean, they lost me from the first couple of bars. I was just like, okay. You know, but it's a genre thing. I don't know. It had like this kind of like disco feel to it. I didn't really hear so much jazz in it. I was kind of getting this sort of disco vibe to it. But yeah, it didn't really appeal to me. But it could be good. But I don't know, because it's like I said, you know, when you're dealing with different genres, a different, you know, or something that's so far off from something that you can't really connect to, you know, it's more of a subjective thing. And in terms of, I mean, it was mixed a bit better than the other stuff that we've listened to. I'll tell you that much. You know, we could hear, you know, what was going on, but also because they had different elements that they were working with there, so that was probably easier to do.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Ben. Thank you very much. And I totally agree with the jazz note kind of thing. Over to Ian Husbands. Ian?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of grew. This kind of I like this. The intro threw me. All those flutes and bits and pieces. I was like, oh, what are we going to get here? And then it sort of went into this nice sort of groove, laid-back funk feel, and I was like, yeah, this is nice. Reminiscent in parts to me of Samandy, actually, back when they were doing their sort of stuff. So, yeah, kind of hit a familiar note from my point of view. Mix-wise, I mean, yeah, they've really got that 70s sound going on, and I like that. It's, you know, the cleanness of the guitars and that sort of bass just grooving underneath. Yeah, I mean, I can't really sort of argue much about the mix. Vocals may be a little bit too prominent in places where the sort of layering came in. But, I mean, the groove was good. The bass sat nicely. The guitars were all there. As Ben said, you know, it's probably the best mixed track on the show so far. Like the guy's voice and the performances, yeah. It really is. It's one of those songs again, it's not really a genre I listen to, but I can't really fault it. I enjoyed the listen, and technically everything was good except for that intro. Didn't like the intro. Lose the flutes, shorten that intro, bring the vocal in a bit sooner, and I'd be happy.
All right, Ian, thank you. And Mr. Tom Chianti, what is your take on track number 3?
Well, I liked it. It was a mix of genres, sort of a jazz, funk, R&B, 70s, maybe a little Sly and the Family Stone or something like that. I really liked at the tail end when the female background vocals came in. I thought that was well done. I love the vocal performance, the high and low going together. I think he pulled that off very good. Yeah, a little esoteric, but it's a nice little change up. The bass could have been just a tad lower, a little bit, I think. And overall, it's clear, it's wide, it is louder than the other ones. One thing I do, the only downside to this mix was it's got that funk feel. I really wanted to hear more percussion and really hear those drums. Here comes my famous whack again. and really drive it a little bit. The bass was doing good, and it all worked. It's a personal taste thing. I really would have liked to hear the drums just really drive and force people to get out of their chairs, whether they want to or not, just be dragged. But all in all, I thought this was a really good track.
All right, Tommy, thank you so much. The name of track number 3 on today's broadcast is called Please by ZWay, or ZWay, whichever way you'd like to pronounce that. Again, the track is called Please. Thanks for sending that in to Music Scene Investigation. And I do want to remind everybody that on the 13th of this month, we will be having the last MSI hit list of the year. Now, I know I said it was the last one in October. That's my fault, and I apologize for misleading you there. But the last one of the year is going to be on the 13th of November, so please make sure you're tuned in for that. A lot of great music coming up on that broadcast. All right, gentlemen, you do have the duty, as you do every week on the panel, of selecting a song of the week. So I'd like for you all to talk it over for everyone to hear and make your case or beat someone else up about theirs for their song of the week selection. So, gentlemen, take it away.
I'll jump right in. I'm all for number 3, mix wise.
I'm sure he is.
What?
Okay. No, I'm sure you are. It's more of a. You really relate to the genre. I mean, you were like all over it. That doesn't surprise me at all. It really
Yeah, well,
doesn't.
it was different. The other two, you know, the number 1 had serious mix issues, and I'm sure if it was mixed as well as number 3, you know, it would have been a tough decision. Number 2. You know, it's got a nice feel, and I really think that they needs a little bit more work. This, almost radio ready. Number 3.
All right. Ben, Ian?
Go on, Ben. I'm interested.
Yeah, well, I look, I think as far as mixing is concerned, the third one was definitely the best, but I think they also just had different elements that they were working with. For me personally, I think the first track, it's just more my cup of tea. You know, I connected with it more. I would have liked it to have like better production, but they obviously perhaps had, you know, expense issues and whatnot. You know, they probably did the best they could under the circumstances. But yeah, I just, it has more memorable things that I can really kind of dig my teeth into.
All right.
Most part.
So number
But
1.
I would tend to agree, yeah.
Number 1 then for you, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And over to Ian.
Well, the power. You know, I'm with Ben. I mean, from the point of view of if I was to probably buy one of these tracks, it would be number 1. But I'm with Tom from the point of view of, I think, as a package, number 3 offers everything. You've got a strong track there, you've got good performances there, you've got a good mix and production there as well. And I think, you know, from the point of view of MSI, I'm going to go with the whole package. Someone who's got a good song, a good mix, good production, and good performances. And as much as it pains me, I'm going to side with Tom and go for number 3.
All right.
Hold on a second. I can get that clear.
Well, there you have it.
I think that's a good move, Ian. I think that's a good, bold move. I respect that, and you know, you have me convinced too from that standpoint. I guess if we're going to make it unanimous from that standpoint, you know, from all those arguments, it definitely sounds like number 3 also.
Hey, there we
All
go.
right. Well, there you have it. Song number 3, the song of the week, Please by ZWay or ZWay, whichever, again, you'd like to pronounce it. Of course, we want your opinion on what you think of the songs you've heard on Music Scene Investigation today as well. Go to musicsceneinvestigation.com/witness because we want you to fill out your witness statement telling us what you thought. Now, for those of you interested in when our Artist and Panelist of the Year voting will be opening, that'll be happening on November the 14th, the day after our last hit list. So please make sure you get in there and vote for your favorites. Vote as many times as you can. I think it's only once, but you can try and vote more than once if you can figure it out. Now then, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us on today's Music Scene Investigation. I want to especially thank Mr. Ben Draiman for joining us. Ben, thank you for staying up late and being here with us. I know you got a busy, busy day tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Well, I certainly hope we get you back sometime again very soon, and hopefully you'll have some excellent news about tomorrow to relay to us after that.
Sounds good. Okay, cool.
Because just to tell everyone, you're on The Voice auditions tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah. Sort of the pre-auditions to The Voice. So, yeah, they determine tomorrow who goes on, I guess, the blind auditions and whatnot. Sort of the filtering process. But it's my second time doing it, too, so whatever.
Fantastic.
I'm not really great with these contests, so we'll see what happens. Especially with TV, they're looking for different things. Like, if I don't have, like, a real tragic and sad story, they might not like it, so.
Well, if you need a tragic and sad story, we can hook you up with Tom later if we get off the show. Spend a couple of hours with him. You'll have a sad story.
I
They'll
see.
be in
Gotcha.
tears.
Okay.
They'll be in tears.
So it'll all work out. Ben, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Again, thanks to everybody in the audience for joining us as well. Today on the broadcast, instead of playing out with our song of the week, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to play out with a video from our good friend Sam, who passed away just this past weekend. In fact, just a couple of days ago. As we say goodbye to her and remember her. So again, thanks for being here with us, everyone. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time on Music Scene Investigation.
Bye.
Bye.
drag my wings, my feet won't leave the ground. No, I don't wanna believe that there's nothing more than this. Nothing more, nothing more, nothing more than this. So I just gotta believe that there's something more than this. Something more, something more, something more than this. I watched a blackbird in the air until it flew too high. Oh, blackbird, I am coming to. Gotta grow my wings and fly. Gotta grow